The ferry churned steadily across the darkening water between New York City and Staten Island, its engines vibrating beneath the soles of polished shoes and worn sneakers alike. The upper deck was alive with movement, tourists leaning over railings with their phones raised, commuters scrolling through screens, couples wrapped in scarves against the cold wind that carried the sharp scent of salt and fuel. Adrian Keller stood slightly apart from the crowd. His overcoat was cut to perfection, charcoal wool falling cleanly over broad shoulders. The wind tugged at it insistently, but he didn't move. His gaze was fixed somewhere beyond the skyline of Manhattan, where glass towers caught the last streaks of sunset and turned them into molten gold. 2 hours earlier, he had been in a boardroom on the 42nd floor of Keller Maritime Holdings, finalizing a deal that would expand his shipping empire across 3 continents. Applause had followed his signature. A journalist from Forbes had requested another feature interview. His assistant had congratulated him on securing what analysts were calling the acquisition of the decade. Yet here, on the ferry deck, none of it felt real. The sky was doing something extraordinary, bleeding from amber into rose, then violet at the edges. The kind of transformation that happened quietly, without contracts or applause. "Sir." The voice barely rose above the wind. Adrian assumed it was someone recognizing him. It happened often enough. He turned with polite detachment already forming on his face. Instead, he found himself looking into the wide brown eyes of a little girl seated in a wheelchair. She couldn't have been older than 9. A knitted yellow hat sat crooked on her dark curls. A thick scarf was wrapped around her neck twice, swallowing her chin. Her small hands rested on the wheels of her chair, fingers pale from the cold. "Yes," he said, his tone automatically formal. She looked up at him as if measuring something. "You're tall," she observed. He blinked. "I suppose. Sir, can you lift me up to see the sky?" He followed her gaze upward. The ferry railing was built high enough to block the horizon from anyone seated. "I can't see it from here," she explained. "Everyone keeps saying how pretty it is." He hesitated. He had negotiated hostile takeovers without blinking. He had fired executives twice his age. But this simple request made him uncertain. "Where's your parent?" he asked. "Mom's on the phone," she replied, nodding toward a woman a few steps away, speaking anxiously into her cell phone. Adrian glanced at the woman, then back at the girl. "What's your name?" he asked. "Layla." "I'm Adrian." She tilted her head. "Are you important?" The bluntness almost made him laugh. "Some people think so." She considered that. "Do you think so?" The question caught him off guard. Before he could answer, she pointed upward again. "It's changing. I don't want to miss it." He looked at the sky once more. The sun had dipped lower now, igniting the clouds into streaks of crimson and molten orange. The water reflected it like fractured glass. He crouched slowly to her level. Up close, he noticed the metal braces supporting her legs, the careful positioning of her feet. A medical chair, lightweight, precise. "Have you ever seen a sunset like this before?" he asked quietly. "I've seen pictures," she said. "But pictures don't move. I want to see it moving." The wind gusted harder, and she shivered. Something shifted inside him. "May I?" he asked gently. Her face brightened instantly. "Yes." He slid his arms beneath her with surprising care, one supporting her back, the other under her knees. She was astonishingly light, far lighter than he expected. He rose slowly, steadying himself as the ferry rocked. A few nearby passengers glanced over. Some recognized him now, whispers moving like ripples. But Adrian didn't notice. He lifted her just high enough so her eyes cleared the railing. Layla inhaled sharply. For a long moment, she said nothing. The sky opened before her, vast and limitless, colors melting into one another, clouds glowing as though lit from within. A single star trembled faintly above the fading sun. "It's so big," she whispered. He watched her instead of the horizon. Her fingers curled slightly, as if trying to hold the light. "Does it do this every day?" she asked. "Yes," he replied softly. "So tomorrow it'll be different?" "Yes," she smiled, still staring outward. "That's good." "Why?" "Because if it changes every day, maybe other things can change too." He swallowed. She turned her head slightly to look at him. "You look sad." He forced a faint smile. "Do I?" "A little. Like when Mom thinks I'm not looking." The honesty in her voice was disarming. Before he could respond, her mother's voice cut in. Layla. The woman hurried over, phone now lowered, eyes wide with alarm, and then confusion. Mr. Keller, she breathed. Recognition settled in fully now. He saw it in her expression. Yes, he said calmly. I'm so sorry, she said quickly. She shouldn't have bothered you. She didn't, he replied immediately. Layla looked between them. You know him. Her mother hesitated. He's very important. Adrian shifted slightly. I'm just someone who's tall enough to help. He gently lowered Layla back into her wheelchair. Thank you, she said sincerely. Now I know it's real. What is? He asked. The sky. The ferry horn blared as they approached the Staten Island terminal. Passengers began moving toward the exit. Adrian noticed something else now. The faint squeak of Layla's chair wheels as her mother pushed her forward. May I help you off the ferry? He asked. Her mother seemed uncertain but nodded. As they walked together toward the ramp, he learned her mother's name was Sophia. That hospital visits had become routine. That Layla had a degenerative muscular condition that made long days exhausting. She loves space, Sophia said quietly. She watches documentaries about astronauts. Says she wants to go up there someday. Layla beamed. I will. Adrian stopped near the terminal entrance. Layla, he said thoughtfully, would you like to see the sky again tomorrow? Her eyes widened. Really? I'm hosting an event tomorrow evening. Private rooftop observatory deck overlooking the harbor. No railings blocking the view. He hesitated only briefly. And I know someone at NASA who might be willing to make a short video call. Layla gasped. The space people. Her mother's voice trembled. Mr. Keller. Why? Adrian looked at the little girl who had just reminded him that change was possible. Because sometimes, he said quietly, someone just needs to be lifted up. The following evening, the rooftop of Keller Maritime's headquarters glowed under soft ambient lighting. Glass walls reflected the city's shimmer. Beyond them, the harbor stretched wide and dark, dotted with moving lights. Investors mingled below, champagne glasses clinking. But Adrian stood near the observatory telescope, waiting. When the elevator doors opened, Layla rolled out first, her yellow hat replaced by a silver one dotted with tiny stars. She froze at the sight of the open sky above the rooftop. No railing, she whispered. None, Adrian confirmed. He approached and knelt beside her. Ready, she nodded eagerly. He lifted her again, this time higher, carefully turning so she could see everything. The city lights flickered below like constellations mirroring the real ones above. The sky was deep indigo now, scattered with stars. A large screen flickered to life behind them. An astronaut in a blue flight suit appeared, smiling from inside a training facility. Hello, Layla, the astronaut said warmly. I hear you're practicing for space. Her jaw dropped. Adrian stepped back slightly, letting her have the moment. They spoke about rockets, about gravity, about how astronauts train their muscles every day. Layla asked serious questions. The astronaut answered each one patiently. When the call ended, Layla was quiet for a long time. Sir, she said softly, yes, when I go to space, I'll look down and wave at you. He smiled, something inside him steadying in a way it hadn't for years. I'll be watching. The wind moved gently across the rooftop. The city stretched endlessly around them. And as he held her there, high enough to see everything, Adrian realized that for all the empires he had built, this was the first time he truly understood what it meant to rise.